Welcome to the Coastal Virginia Chamber of Commerce, our civic engagement platform. As you know, we've been interviewing candidates and elected officials here on the civic engagement vehicle, and we hope you've enjoyed them. Today's no exception. We have a candidate for mayor from the city of Portsmouth. By the way, I'm your host, JP Gazzi, and a new friend, the gentleman that wants to be mayor, Cliff Page, from that great city of Portsmouth. Welcome, Mr. Page, and look forward to chatting with you about some of the concerns and why you want to be mayor.
Certainly. Glad to be here with you.
Thanks. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself in the 15 minutes or so we have, and why the citizens should support you as their elected leader.
Well, I have been in Portsmouth for about 45 years, all total, and about, sometimes off and on, sometimes out of the country, but generally about 35 years consistently in Portsmouth. And I've lived in, I grew up in high school, went and lived on either side, either port in the United States. I've seen a lot. So I'm not just saying, well, I'm from Portsmouth and haven't seen the world. I've seen what most people just dream of. And I've lived in major cities of the world. I've worked over there, Milan, Naples, Rome. I lived in those places. Ankara, Turkey. I was a Fulbright fellow overseas. I have a terminal degree in my field. I've taught in every school in Portsmouth practically, from Montessori and on up to university. I'm an academic, but I've also worked in pattern shops and foundries, built 3 foundries. I'm a person who's got used to getting dirt under his fingernails, and those are the people I really like to talk to in Portsmouth, and those are my constituents, because this is what made Portsmouth great, and I intend to make us great once again, getting back to our roots and teaching people and getting them taught in how to be skilled and to make them proud of what they did before, and not try to over excel and over exceed in things that are not really our forte. This city is known for what it did. We were the best in what we did, and in fact our shipyard did things that no other shipyard would do in the country. So this is what I want to bring back to Portsmouth. But I've also spent 5 years as a charter member of the Design Review Committee, Downtown D1 Committee, which was the most powerful committee the city has ever had. We controlled everything from the waterfront to the railroad tracks, from 264 to inside of Old Town. My fingerprints are all over the downtown, and Lobscousar and Cafe Europe, the Admiral's Landing, people eating out of doors, European style. Many of these things were my ideas. And when the 600 block of High Street was going to be demolished and turned into a parking lot, and I found out about it, I immediately got together some business neighbors, and I talked to the right person and stopped it, and it became Prison Square, which was the revitalization of the 600, 700, 800 blocks of High Street. So
can I stop you here for just a second? Can I stop you just one second? You mentioned the DT committee. You said that's the downtown committee.
Well, it originally was named the D1 committee because it was the D1 district. When I left there, before I left there, it's subdivided into D1, D2, and then subsequently it has been T1 through 7. I'm not happy with what happened, but what happened though was important in showing you people what I'm all about. I am an anti-corruption straight shooter. I believe in micro businesses, small businesses. I want an equal playing field for the little guy, so he can compete against the corporate capitalists who send all their money to the stockholders, and the managers don't even live in our city. And I want the little guy who starts a business or has an entrepreneurial idea to be able to get off the ground without have to have a master's degree in accounting or a CPA. We need to treat our people right. And going back to the beginning, people were telling me 30 years ago that Portsmouth is not conducive to business. I saw what was happening. I heard their complaints from developers and architects. Nothing has changed. I intend to change that attitude. But what I did while I was on that committee was I've caught redevelopment, economic development, planning and engineering, and the city manager and corruption. I went to the city council with the support of the American Institute of Architects, American Institute of Landscape Architects, and the American Institute of Interior Designers, and the Tidewater Artists, the presidents of all of them, and they sent me documents to go along with this. They all supported me in this, and these people were thrown off of the committee, some of the highest officials in the city, and I asked that they be replaced with designers so that the citizens would have a group of people who were really working hard for them, not working against them to do their own agendas. And this happened. The city did do this and replaced the city manager within 2 months. And that has been the benchmark of my career in the city.
Well, I want to go back to that because I think our viewers did not catch. You said where you came from. What was your position? Were you appointed or were you elected? No, I didn't catch that.
No, this was an appointed committee, and I was a charter member of it. The D1 committee was the D1 district, and it controlled everything from the waterfront to the railroad track, from 264 to inside of Old Town, everything, including the public buildings. So that was the most powerful committee this city ever had, but they wintered it down, and it became D1 and then D2 district and then T1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 districts.
I got you.
So that's how it changed.
Okay, moving right along, we're gonna have some budget cuts, obviously, in all the cities around the world. But because of the pandemic, what programs would you specifically look at? Because there's a huge spending problem from what most people understand in Portsmouth.
You got that right. Well, let me say, to predicate that, I was the one person in this city who fought against having the Midtown Tunnel and tolls in. And going back 35 years ago, I wrote a big op-ed piece in the paper, and then a few years after that, I wrote a second one. I wrote to the governor. I spoke to the council. Everything. I knew it was going to kill us, and it did. As soon as they passed it, everybody in the city immediately saw what I'd been writing on the wall, and it killed 50% of our businesses in the downtown within 2 months. That's how bad it was. And I continue to fight against it. I'm hoping that we can get some of this nickel, which is going to go to a dime gas tax. I was opposed when Governor Allen took that off because that was the progressive tax, and we get Yankees going to Florida and we get Yankees going back to the Bronx, and we get their money, and they're trying to get to Virginia so they won't pay the North Carolina and Maryland taxes. And that was a progressive tax that helped the whole state. We have been burdened by this enormously in this city, and it's discriminatory against us. It's killing our working people, the worst of all, in our black community more than anybody. And I'm fighting for that. Now, this COVID quarantine that we're in, my God, if we have any of our businesses left over when it's finished, I almost think it's a conspiracy to keep franchises and corporate capitalists alive, the big boxes, while the little fella who's trying to survive is just eating air. This is going to be enormously killing our people. But I will tell you this: we've had people talk about high rises on the waterfront and moving jails and bringing in developers and all this kind of stuff on our waterfront. I am opposed to it, and I'll tell you right now, as mayor, I will live in a cardboard box for 4 years. I will not do anything that's going to be this kind of development for fancy offices for the city council or anything like that. We're going to maintain properties that the city owns. We're not going to allow Willett Halls and places like that to be destroyed because of lack of maintenance. We're going to do the maintenance, and we're going to take care of the roads, and we're going to do the infrastructure. We're going to clean the ditches and do these kinds of things that are necessary. And we are certainly not going to do something like what the city manager got, a 4.1% raise. I was aghast when I heard that, because the COLA for the federal government was 1.26. And I knew she was going to retire when I heard that. That's common practice in this city. And we're going to be paying for her retirement for the next 30 years. We're going to be very fiscally responsible in this city.
Flip page, who wants to be your next mayor? I'm your host, JP Guscozzi, with the Coastal Virginia Chamber of Commerce. The casino, you have a lot of nice property down there in the ocean front. Obviously, Norfolk wants a casino, Waterside wants it, Portsmouth That's the other place. Are you supporting that?
I am 100% opposed to it. I can't control what they want to do in Norfolk, but I don't think it's good for anybody here. We do. I've been in the merchant marine. I've lived in every port in this country. I've lived in Italy. I certainly know that we got a mafia here, and they're going to be around our ports. And if we build a casino, and it's not going to be on our waterfront, it's going to be over where Louise Lucas lives, and her people over there live in Cavalier Manor. And this is going to be right next to TCC. It's going to be right next to Bidawee. Bidawee's not been doing well since this manager and the mayor came in. This is really bad. I can't imagine a worse place to put a casino than next to a community college in a neighborhoods that are declining. This out in that area is where all the fentanyl, heroin, crack cocaine, and speed are coming from, being pushed into the weaker and poorer neighborhoods. And this is where all the gunshots come from every night. If you want to stop that, you got to stop these vicious drugs that are plaguing our people, particularly crack. That is not some minor drug because it costs $5. This is the one that turns people into Superman, and they kick your front door down and burglarize you. I've experienced this, and I'm not sympathetic to crack cocaine. Obama may have let out 30,000 people from the federal jails, but I'll guarantee you none of those people were just caught with a single rock. They were serious uh, convicts before they went to federal jail. I am against a casino because, first of all, if all corporate capitalists send their capital back to their stockholders, the casino does it on steroids. And that parking lot of theirs, they're going to give you free drinks inside the parking lot, but they're going to find out that with these legalized and liberalizing marijuana laws, that their parking lot's going to become a supermarket for drugs. And I don't want to see that.
We're rapidly running out of time here, and there's still several questions. So briefly, if you could just tell me what your thoughts are. Portsmouth schools now are closed for the entire year, all the way through June of 21 that just came out. What are the people, when you knock on doors, telling you? Do they support that or not? Because I understand most parents want their kids back face to face.
Well, I'm trying to listen to this because, I'm an educator. I have taught everything from Montessori to universities. And I shared a office with a fellow who was doing virtual training, and I had questions about it. But I talked to a lady last night, and she was a teacher, and she was telling me about some of the things she was doing over in Suffolk, and she thought it was a really dynamic, new way of teaching, and things never change again. One thing I think that's necessary, though, you don't want to disrupt children in their schooling right in the middle of the semester. It's got to be done at the school break or at the year or something like that. One thing that she was telling me, though, was that there was far better discipline, and discipline is the biggest problem in the schools today. So if it's better discipline, that's fine, but you got to think that the mothers are going to be going back to work. The fathers are not going to be at home anymore. So maybe the discipline will change, and students who are just at home working with a computer may not work. I don't know. It's something to really listen up to and get some feedback on from a lot of people.
The problem, and I'm asking these questions of all the candidates that we're interviewing here at the Coastal Virginia Chamber of Commerce. This, in more than any of the other Hampton Roads city, it seems like Portsmouth has this clearly defined black, white, that it cannot be clearer, the racial divide there. What, under your administration and leadership, would you do to try to get people to have more civil discourse, and work better together?
Well, I really look for people not by the color of their skin, but what's the black under their fingernail, whether it's grease or dirt. That's what our people are really all about. Most of this division has been driven by the national NAACP headquarters up in Baltimore and their Take 'em Down movement. If they can't find racism, they're going to create it, because this is what that organization is all about. And they've been pushing this throughout the South for political reasons, to divide the South. And I think it's very divisive. There are a small group of people in this city who have caused tremendous amount of pain and suffering. But when I go and talk to the working black community in this city, they don't have racial thoughts. They didn't want to take our monument down. They never thought of it as being offensive. These are things that have been created by a lot of left-wing communist and philosophy departments. I studied those kinds of things down in North Carolina in their school system in graduate school. I'm pretty versed in Hegel and Kant and Feuerbach and Marx and Engels. I know all about this and what they teach. And this is what's the problem is. These people with Antifa, Black Lives Matter, NAACP, they're just ginning up this stuff to create division because we have had 60 years of enormous progress, particularly in the South. And you go back to de Tocqueville or you go to Charles Dickens, who traveled in this country, and they said that the race relations in the entire country were the best in the South in antebellum times. And this is because we have always worked very close with the black and white communities. And most of the time, the blacks outnumbered the whites in any of the southern states, but they were part of the family. And Dr. Holly, who was a friend of mine, and Charlie Whitehurst, the whites put them in office as much as the blacks. And they used to come to my studio. They put me on committees. I tried to get commissions started, and Dr. Holly did this at my suggestion. We worked together. We didn't think about color. And that's what we got to get back to.
I'm going to give you the last word as we wrap up here. Cliff Page, he wants to be your next mayor in that great city of Portsmouth. Any issue that you're passionate about that's on your heart or the voters are telling you as we wrap up?
Right. Well, thank you very much. Before I leave, let me tell you this. Anybody can go out and look at my website. Is Cliff Page, 4, mayor, run all the words together.org. And you will see a very comprehensive website, probably the best I think maybe in the whole state. And I have on there Issues and Positions, A Path to the Future, which is the only real roadmap that any mayoral candidate's ever written. It's very lengthy. It covers everything from education and policing to any number of subjects. But the one thing that I am passionate about is this. I want to help the small businessman out, the micro businessman, and I want to create an equal playing field between the big boxes and the corporate capitalists. But what I'm going to do, unlike any other candidate, is I'm going to bring money into the city, not take it out. And what I mean by that is this city had a three-legged stool. We were the shipyard, we were the ports, and we were the railroad. When we lost the railroad in 1958 and 60 with the first downtown tunnel, this is what killed Portsmouth. The Midtown Tunnel is just what drove the wooden stake into our heart to make sure we never got back up again. What I want to do is bring a high-speed bullet train, which will be the first in the nation, into Portsmouth at our CSX rail from Washington, D.C., Charlotte, North Carolina, through Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, and Richmond. Coming in here on separate schedules, we will have a steady flow of tourists. Maybe they want to get to your beach. Maybe they want to get to Norfolk. But our job is going to make sure they never get out of Portsmouth, and we're going to do it with a smile. We're going to pick the lint out of their pockets, and they're coming down here to spend money. We're going to get as much of it as we can. And, 85% of all business is new business, 85% of all business is repeat business, and 85% of all business is word of mouth. We're not going to even have to advertise. All we got to do is what we did in the past, create quality products and services, and when the people leave here, they're going to have a smile on their face. They're going to come back and want to spend it again in Hampton Roads because we're going to become the hub. But when they leave, we're going to have a grin on ours because money is like water. It seeks its own level and it floats all boats. And I believe that this will turn our city around and we won't be worrying about the color. We'll be like Reverend Ike talking about the color green.
Cliff Page, he wants to be the mayor of that great city of Portsmouth. Cliff, we'll go to Roger Brown's and have some dinner and then shoot over to the Commodore there and catch the latest movie when I get down there.
Well, I tell you what, I want to see people coming from D.C. and Charlotte and these other cities, and I want to see it on a regular business, and I want them to go into Roger Brown's. I want them to go to Lob Scooser, Cafe Europe, and all the other businesses that we're going to fill out that are empty today. And let's hope that they're not dead by the time this quarantine is over, but that we can build on something. It's going to take some time. It's going to take regional cooperation, but I intend to see it happen.
J.P. Guscott's your host. Cliff Page wants to be your next mayor right here on the Coastal Virginia Chamber of Commerce, another civic engagement platform. We always want to thank Max, our tech guy up in Richmond, putting these together, as well as our chairman, Gary Byler, and executive director, Ron Villanueva. Until next time, thanks for watching the Coastal Virginia Chamber of Commerce.